Going back to farming or what?
I suspect they're going on to property development, but we'll
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I don't know any facts.
Yeah.
There's a rumor. Of course, I'm spreading the rumor now, aren't I?
Yeah, but that's it. You know what's interesting about that? That your ladies club had.
We are live.
We're not going to talk about golf on today's talk show for talkers.
We are live on YouTube, so we should welcome any YouTube listeners, viewers, whatevers, because
there's a rumor. I'm spreading the rumor now, aren't I?
Yeah, but
whatevers. Right, I'll mute that so that we don't get feedback. Now,
while Moira's doing the technical setup, let me welcome you, listeners and viewers, to today's talk show for talkers. This is a live recording of a podcast. You can subscribe to this podcast on your podcatcher, in iTunes, or anywhere else you like. It's called Irish Talkers. Paul O'Mahony, one of the presenters. I live in Cork, Ireland, and I'd now like to introduce you to one of the other presenters, whose name is Ted Melanphy. Ted, would you like to introduce yourself to the people on YouTube?
Yes, certainly. Thanks, Paul. It's a pleasure to be with you all on YouTube. My name is Ted Melanphy, and as mentioned by Paul, I am also a member of the team on the talk show for talkers. The three of us, Moira, Paul, and I, are Toastmasters. We're Toastmasters of the same club, and in some situations or instances of the same clubs. So we are not necessarily constrained to one club or even cocooned in one club. But it's a pleasure to be with you all on YouTube, and we hope you'll stick with us for the entire show, and we hope you enjoy it. And if any of you would like to join Toastmasters, whether it be Blarney Toastmasters or Lee Valley Toastmasters or any Toastmasters club, please join a Toastmasters club. There is one in your area. So you will be listening to Paul, Moira, and I when we talk about everything Toastmasters in this podcast.
and of course, everything else that we talk about, because for some reason or other, we record about 45 minutes each week, but we still seem to take about 2 hours to do it. I wonder why.
Well, all I can say is that today, all the breakdowns, all the foibles, all the cursing and swearing that we used to do in the background, that's all now brought out into the foreground. And we have today for you a goodly variety of episodes of this podcast, because what we do during our recording time, and you're going to be here for all of it, I hope, or in bits and pieces, and you're going to send it on to your best friends, your mother, father, uncle, aunt, anyone cocooning as well, remember, plus anybody who wants to pay €2 a week to join Toastmasters, just €2 a week. And we'll tell you a little bit about what you'll get for Toastmasters during this show. So it takes our sound engineer, our producer, our director, Moira O'Brien, loads of times to set up every week. And that gives Ted and I a chance to talk to each other, doesn't it, Ted?
It certainly does, Paul. And it's always nice to chat with a fellow Toastmaster. And I was surprised, Paul, that you weren't at the Knocknaheeny Toastmasters meeting last Tuesday evening.
Well, Ted, most of our people watching this YouTube video are going to be in San Francisco, New York, Buenos Aires, and our usual listeners in, where is that place? Kamchatka. So I think Knocknaheeny is going to be a tricky thing to talk about to them, but I got to add one more thing. By the way, Knocknaheeny is the north side of Cork City. Fabulous place, wonderful initiative, bringing Toastmasters into parts of the city where it hasn't been before. But there's one important thing. We may be in this little city called Cork, or even in this little place near the kissing stone, the Blarney Stone. But
Did you say the kissing stone? K.
I did.
That's
You
good.
have
I
to
thought
kiss
it
the
was something
Blarney
else.
Stone. When you kiss the Blarney Stone, you get the gift of the gab.
Did
But
you
the
say
last
kiss the Blarney Stone?
Yes. The last thing I want to say, the very last thing, and then I'm going to hand over to Moira O'Brien to take you through the entire, or Ted, anybody
Moira-
but me. The last thing I want to say is that this podcast, Irish Talkers, also known as the Talk Show for Talkers, is strongly supported by our own division, which is the whole of the island of Ireland, plus plus the whole of Scotland, plus about half of Wales and half of England. It's a very big, and we are really thrilled to have the support, not just moral support, tiny bit of financial support as well. So we're really coming to you from a bigger geographical area than the village of Blarney.
Well done, Paul. And I'd just like to, for our listeners, particularly if they're Toastmasters, that we're even speaking about more than a division, it's a district. So we are coming from District 71. And something, Paul, I would like to also mention to you, Knocknaheeny Toastmasters, when you said that Knocknaheeny is a little place in Cork, you're certainly right. But the people who are in that club, one lady is from Canberra, another person was from Nairobi, we had a person from India, we had a person from New York, we had a person from Ohio. It's an international Toastmasters club. It was international before we were ever inflicted with the coronavirus. So it truly is international. Wonderful, wonderful club, fantastic Toastmasters, and beautiful atmosphere.
Well, Ted, they must be paying you to be the PR person for the club.
Hold that thought.
See, he's gone off, I think, maybe to get some. Fantastic. Look at that. Knocknaheeny Toastmasters. Oh, my goodness. Ted is holding up something called Best Poetry Award. And Ted won the award, hold it up, for achieving the best recitation of a poem during our live open mic night on Saturday, the 2nd of May, as voted by the audience. So I think Ted is really telling us that he wasn't.
It was an international audience.
An international audience. And I hear, Ted, that the BBC have been on to you in order to see if they can book you for a live performance after we've totally opened up after the virus. Could this possibly be true, or is this just a rumor?
No, it's true, Paul. It's funny, actually, words in jest. BBC 4. No, I'll have to go into negotiation. Should I be looking for BBC 2 or BBC 1? I've been asked to come on to
No, Radio 4. Radio 4 is the intellectual. That's the intellectual.
Oh, it must be that one. So actually, the poem I did was Stephen Murphy's Before You Push the Chair. I did it in Toastmasters.
Now, can I just check with you two guys? Are we actually going to record the podcast properly today? Or is Moira O'Brien, are you going to make this the podcast?
Well, no. Now, come on, be fair. Well, I just spent the last 5 minutes on publicizing this stream to everywhere. So I publicized it on Facebook. I'm publicizing it now on Twitter. And I will then publicize it on LinkedIn, and it's already all over Facebook. So hopefully, we might get one person watching us.
But can we hook up now with the Talk Show for Talkers as we originally were going to do?
Yeah, I put the link in the chat to the stream.
Okay.
And we've been online since I said we went live.
Yes, but we're not online with the Talk Show for Talkers as such. We're talking about a podcast of the Toastmasters Talk Show for Talkers.
Let's have a fight on air.
You've lost me.
Mara, we meet every Thursday to record the Talk Show for Talkers.
We do.
What we're recording at the moment is
it's the Talk Show for Talkers.
About the Talk Show for Talkers.
No, we're recording the Talk Show for Talkers, and we're letting the world see the recording and everything that goes into it. And all this inane chatter that we seem to get through at, yes.
Listeners, we don't always understand what each other are saying. And that's one of the key things, that when you're a speaker, it's very handy to look at your audience and see, do the audience understand what's going on? And if the audience don't understand what's going on, you need to join Toastmasters, because in Toastmasters, you learn the skill of being sensitive to the body language and to whether the people are actually listening to you at all, or whether they're actually fiddling with their mobile phones. How on earth do you get the attention of an audience and hold it?
And guess what? The subject of my segment this week is going to be almost exactly that: how to be charismatic in your online meeting.
Moira, I'm trying.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to share the link
Yeah.
which you have put up, and I can't find it.
I put it up on the Zoom group chat. I will now put it into.
I'm on Facebook. I want to share it on Facebook.
Oh, well, Facebook probably hasn't updated yet. No, just.
Right. Okay.
Well, if you get, I don't know how quickly Facebook updates, but if you go to the Talk Show for Talkers on Facebook, it should be there. But I've noticed in the past, I've noticed in the past that sometimes I share things and then it doesn't appear. So I think I haven't shared it. So I do it again, and then I suddenly find I've shared it twice.
Right, Moira.
Yeah?
There. Yeah. I can see it. I'm looking at it.
The good thing about this is that we're showing people how people who are unexpert at doing this can actually achieve something that will amuse people. And you know, when you show we all know when you show your vulnerability, you get an emotional response from an audience. When you show how inept you are, you also get an emotional response from your audience. So you don't have to be saying to yourself, I better be perfect before I join Toastmasters. I better be perfect before I make a speech at Toastmasters. No, you just have to do it.
Yeah, well, it's all visible there on the Talk Show for Talkers page. It should be visible on my own page, so you can copy from either place.
Can we ask Ted, Moira, if he would start the show in the podcast in the traditional way? But before he does that, I have to ask him, Ted, do you have enough time? Have you got another 4 hours available?
No, not 4 hours, not 4 hours, but I'll have to be out here about 20 to 5.
Okay, shouldn't be a problem. It's 3:30 now.
Well,
I'm all ready to go, I think.
Too.
So let's put this up. Right. I might actually at some stage share this screen so that people can actually see what happens on the recording side, which might be of interest to somebody. You never know.
Yeah, it's a good idea. For other Toastmasters would be interesting in podcasts.
Yeah.
Can we start the show, please?
Yeah, I'm just keying it up. It's all now nearly ready to go. I just need to switch myself on to the way I normally do this. So just bear with me a second or three. And we are on Zoom. So Zoom, change to Roadcaster Pro. Okay, that should be okay. That's all right. Right.
Have I time to get a cup of tea before we start?
No, we're starting. What's that in your hand then? Oh, it's your phone. I thought it was a cuppa. Okay, folks. We are all but ready to go. Let's do a quick sound check, please.
Oh, yes. Am I talking too loud?
No, I can't hear you at all. Why can't I hear you? Oh, I know why. This is why we should always do a sound check.
Can you hear me, Moira? 1, 2,
yeah,
1,
just
2.
wait a minute. Whoa. Okay. Now right. Try again.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Yeah, you sound good.
Can you hear me well now, Moira?
Yep, perfect. That's okay.
Is everything I said before inaudible?
It's inaudible on the podcast. It's not inaudible on the stream.
Perfect.
We are streaming live. So welcome. If anybody is here, I don't think anybody's here yet, but you never know. You're very welcome to the live stream of the
show, isn't it? Oh, yeah.
No, not yet. But you can if you want to put it in the show. We're not actually going yet. Save, but do I have the live stream open? I don't. If you want to watch the live stream, then do mute the sound, because
people will watch this live stream on YouTube after we've finished.
Yeah.
Let's crack on.
Yeah, we will make it available. Okay, folks. So, Ted, are you ready?
Yes, Moira.
3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, Toastmasters. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever part of the globe that you're in. Listeners and friends, you're very welcome to the Talk Show for Talkers on irishtalkers.com. Our email address is info@irishtalkers.com. You can also find us on Facebook as the Talk Show for Talkers. We welcome your comments, your questions, feedback, and indeed your evaluations. And since we are live streaming on YouTube, if we have any Toastmasters hooking up with us, we will be delighted if you send in your questions, your evaluations, your critiques, anything that will get us motivated to get you involved. You can also listen to previous shows on our website, irishtalkers.com. And we also publish the Public Speaking Weekly. This is a roundup of links from the internet, all about Toastmasters, about public speaking, glossophobia, which is the fear of public speaking, confidence, leadership. So look for the newspaper link on our website. My name is Ted Malamphy, and I'm joined again this week by the prolific Paul O'Mahony.
Oh, yes, so prolific that I'm thrilled, I have to say, to be back with you listeners. I enjoy nothing more than your company every week on this podcast.
Well done, Paul. And the magnificent Moira O'Brien.
Good afternoon, evening, morning, daytime, whatever day or time of the week. See, we don't even know what day of the week it is, do we? Because we're all on lockdown. But we have this wonderful advantage of being able to talk to the whole world through the internet. Now, just imagine if this had happened 20, 30 years ago, before the internet became all pervasive. What would we have done? We would have had to close down. We wouldn't have been airing at all. So, folks, you're very welcome. I hope you enjoy this session as much as we always enjoy it every week. Ted, what do we have in store this week?
Well, we have the usual eclectic collection of all the lovely things. We will have a thought for the week. We will have a word for the week. We won't have a guest interview, but we will certainly have something that's very interesting to listen to. And that will take up our first two sections, which covers Friday and Saturday. Then we are going to have, on Sunday, we are going to have the prolific Paul O'Mahony, because Paul is going to be giving us some lovely stuff today, as he does every week. Paul is going to give us a word of the day. I can't tell you what that is, but he is going to have a talk about how to recruit members in Region 10. And Region 10 is more than just a district. In fact, Region 10 takes in, looking at the globe, probably half the world. Region 10 is a huge expanse. So imagine to get members from that entire region would be superb. And you mentioned, Moira, that if we didn't have this 20 or 30 years ago, it's because of this pandemic that we have the opportunity of actually going international. even though we have clubs that are international, we have clubs that are hybrid clubs, but now we're starting to reach out to all corners of the globe, and we are speaking to people in all corners of the globe. We are visiting different Toastmasters club all over the world, and we would never have contemplated this. Well, we might have contemplated it, but we would never have got to do it, I would say. But
Ted,
because of this pandemic, we're doing it.
Ted, do you have a quote of the week for us?
I certainly have. Would you like to hear it?
That's exactly why I asked.
Paul, it fits in beautiful with the conversation we're having. Everything begins with an idea. Everything begins with an idea.
That's a
And
bit.
the man that's attributed to, even though I think every second person in the world will have said it, is Earl Nightingale.
That's a bit like saying that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. That's a similar sort of idea, isn't it?
But Earl Nightingale was a very interesting character.
Hey, hang on. Can we discuss the quotation?
Yes, everything begins with an idea.
Well, since you introduced it, would you like to defend it? And because I'm going to demolish it.
Well, no, I'll tell you, everything does begin with an idea. Do you know that the person who started all of this off was a character called Mickey Mouse?
Who started all of what, Ted?
Mickey Mouse was an idea on a piece of paper. And now he has a global reach. Mickey Mouse is one of the most well-known characters that civilization has ever known.
This is very true.
Thank you very much.
470 million people know Mickey Mouse. 470 million.
Is that all?
That's all. Paul has his hand up.
Yes, I'd like to do an add-on to that. And I think it's very important to build on top of what Ted has said, because the statement talks about everything begins with an idea. And Ted has given us a splendid example of something which began as an idea. And of course, logically, something is not the same as everything. So let's look at the quotation from the point of view of the extent to which it makes any sense at all. Now, some would say if everything begins with an idea, some would say that means that the Big Bang was an idea. That would be, if we had enough time, listeners, we could have a strong philosophical debate upon the nature of reality. The idealist philosophers used to argue that everything was an idea, that there's nothing out there in the whole world other than the idea that there's something out there. Fantastic. For me, I've heard people say everything begins with the way you think. And I have much more a notion that everything begins with the way in which I feel. I think that I came into just after I was born with feelings, not thoughts. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm a bundle of feelings that has grafted thoughts on top of them. And that's why I think that the quotation that Ted has brought up is a splendid one, on which we could spend the entire podcast.
And you just verified what I was saying, Paul, about everything begins with an idea. Because from the moment you're born, as you said, you're filled with thoughts. Thoughts are ideas. Emotions are ideas. Emotions will give us ideas, will give us thoughts. So you are so right. You are just putting it in your philosophical way, what I just said, that everything begins with an idea.
Well, what a delightful short quotation. In fact, some would go so far in some situations to call it a curt quotation, it being sparing of words. And one of the meanings which I'd like to offer you today as our word of the week is the meaning of the word curt, which is not the same as Kurt, who's in Star Wars, isn't he? Or in one of those television things. This is spelt C-U-R-T. And one meaning of the word is sparing of words. So you can say, Moira wrote curt, precise sentences. And that does not mean that she wrote rude words, because there is a second meaning of the word curt, which is the one that perhaps most people are familiar with. And it's about things being rude or peremptory. We won't define that today. To be peremptory, that means to speak, in very short way, but to be brusque. You can talk about speaking brusquely to somebody. You can also talk about being blunt, and you can talk about disconcerting shortness. The handy thing about the word, for people who are learning to hold the attention of an audience, is that it's such a short word that if you combine it with, for sake of argument, he spoke in a curt, brisk, and dead manner, you get 3 short words. And there is some reason to think that if you use words in groups of 3, that you hold people's attention more than you do if you put them in groups of 4 or 5. So curt collections is another way you can use it, because that's a bit of alliteration. So he spoke, or he chanted in a curt collection of something or other. I'm playing with the word now, but it is an adjective. There is also a word which is curtly. I've never heard anybody say that she spoke to her wife in a curtly manner. I never, because that's an adjective. So to speak curtly. And there's also a noun which I've never heard anybody use, which is curtness. So they're quite good for crosswords, and also if you're into playing Scrabble, the word curt.
It's a nice word, Paul. What went through my head is that you've spoken in a curt, cute, civil way.
I have a lovely.
And you gave us the distinction of the 2 definitions, which I think is very good.
I do have a lovely thesaurus thing here. Breviloquent. After blunt, brusque, concise, offhand, pithy, succinct, and terse comes breviloquent. Just imagine that. Well, on that just
before you go, can I ask you which you prefer to be referred to as? Here comes Moira O'Brien, the breviloquent woman from Mars, or how about here comes Moira O'Brien, the curt woman from Venus? Which would you prefer be referred to as?
Or would you prefer to be referred to like I just referred to Paul, that he spoke in a curt, cute, and civil way?
I think any of those would do wonderfully. And on that curt and breviloquent note, let us bring this segment to a close. We'll see you again tomorrow at the same time, when we'll be bringing you a recording of a TED Talk from YouTube. A very interesting one, actually, but I'll leave it to Ted to introduce it tomorrow, but let's just say that it's about finding your frequency. We'll see you then. Okay, stopped recording that. And
you say you've stopped recording. Are we still on YouTube?
Of course, we're going to stream on YouTube the whole way through. So just keep your language decent,
Well, I started off with decent clothing. I think that's perhaps more.
Well, one of the things that you might be interested in that I do after the show's finished, that was 13 and a half minutes of recording. Well, 13 and a half minutes plus with the intro and the outro. I will go through and edit the audio on that and I will take out much of the long pauses. One of the things about recording or doing a recording like this on Zoom is that there is always a little bit of a lag in audio. And you will have noticed that sometimes we're talking over each other because we don't actually see the other person is talking. So I try to take those out. So there will be an edit, which will probably lose about a minute to a minute and a half of the actual recording, and it will make it much slicker. Those are the sort of things that you wouldn't normally be aware of course, when you just listen to the show, when it goes out on our podcast platform. We'll now go and start our second section, which Ted normally introduces. So are you ready, Ted?
Certainly, Moira.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters, podcasters, YouTubers. You're very welcome to this segment of the Talk Show for Talkers for this week. And I'm going to introduce you to a gentleman. His name is David Meltzer, and he gave a TED Talk. And the TED Talk that he was giving in a school, a technical college. And the name of this talk and the subject of his talk is Find Your Frequency. And this is interesting stuff, particularly if you're a Toastmaster or if you're somebody who likes to make an impression on other people. The frequency that we give off to each other can be interesting. So enjoy this. It's a TEDx talk, and it's live on YouTube, but it's now live on the Talk Show for Talkers as well.
Well, for copyright reasons, I think we'll better not play it live on the show.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Whilst we're streaming, we don't want to get into trouble with TEDx.
Okay, well, at least we've referred where people can find it.
Indeed, indeed. Just look on YouTube for David Meltzer, and the title is Find Your Frequency. So, Paul,
that brings us nicely to section 3 now.
I have listened to it twice. Well, I played it twice, and I found that I wasn't really listening to it. I was so busy doing the technicals.
Yeah, I know.
So,
well, you'll have to listen to it, Moira. And there are other, when you go onto YouTube, the benefit of using YouTube is that when you look at something such as this, you'll also get other references to other people who gave similar talks. So there's a whole a vast education there for you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I think we have Murto Sullivan
that's excellent.
watching our stream.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It might be somebody else. We certainly have a watcher.
That's
only
good.
one. Only
that's
one.
Good. Well, everything begins with an idea, Moira.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And it takes a while to build your audience.
It might be two people, but I think one of them might be me.
Well, it's two people more than you had last week. You were here last week, too. Or it might be you and I, Mara. We could be the two people.
Well, it could be. Could be. Okay. Now, tomorrow...
So are you going to bring in the Kurt Paul O'Mahony?
I will do the close down of this segment first.
Segment 2, okay.
And then I'll bring Paul in.
Excellent.
So I'm just trying to look back and make sure recruiting new members in Region 10. Okay. Do look at this up on YouTube. You'll find the link on our website to see the actual YouTube recording. That brings us to the end of part 2 of this week's show. Join us again the same time tomorrow when Paul will be looking at recruiting new members in our region, Region 10. We'll look forward to seeing you then. Okay, that's exactly on time. And we'll go into part 3. Welcome to part 3 of this week's talk show for talkers here on irishtalkers.com. Just a little reminder that you can find us on Facebook as the Talk Show for Talkers, where this is actually being streamed live as we speak through YouTube. And our email address is info@irishtalkers.com, and that's our website, irishtalkers.com. It's now time for me to pass over to Paul O'Mahony. And Paul this time is talking about something which actually is quite difficult in this online time, and that is how to recruit new members in Region 10. Paul, take it away.
The first thing that Toastmasters clubs all over the world had to grapple with when the pandemic took hold was the question of how on earth are we going to survive? Like any group of people or at all, we're almost kind of biologically programmed to, when there's a huge threat, to think about our own survival. And that was the very first thing that everybody started to think about. And the only way of surviving with your club that anybody could think of during the pandemic, when nobody could go and meet face to face, was to hold meetings via the internet online. Of course, lots of people weren't enthralled about the idea, but it was the only survival strategy, and it still exists. And Toastmasters is surviving, and Toastmasters will survive the pandemic. However, Toastmasters has a major challenge, which is how to survive and thrive. Not just survive, let's say surviving with reduced membership, with less money, with less ability to provide a service to the wider community and to its own members. But how on earth is it possible to thrive? In order for clubs around the world to continue to be and to gradually become sustainable, clubs need to have members. If there are only a small number of members in a club, its long-term survival is far from sure. When a membership in a local club in Toastmasters drops below a certain level, it's possible that the club might be faced with stopping existing because there wouldn't be enough variety of people there, and it would end up being a really tiny little group, as opposed to a thriving place that you'd be proud to bring anybody into, and where people have a good opportunity to learn from the diversity that they would experience there. Club meetings are really at the heart of Toastmasters. There's a lot more to Toastmasters than club meetings, but I'm not going to talk about the education program today. That is a huge thing to bear in mind, that even if you can't go to club meetings at the moment, even if you don't go online, there is still a terrific education program there for people to learn from. Coming back to the issue about membership, the organization has got a huge challenge, partly a challenge it's always had, which is how to get more members. But we're going to lose members in the current crisis. Everybody knows that. And that means that we need to recruit members while the clubs are online, not wait until everything's gone back to, the old normal. We just don't know what the future normal will be. So how do you recruit members online? How do you recruit people who have never thought of joining Toastmasters? How do you do that? It's not something Toastmasters are used to doing. So it's a new skill. It's a new frame of mind. It's a new set of behaviors. And there's an initiative in the region that this podcast is coming from. And there's this podcast coming from Europe, and Region 10 in Toastmasters is Europe, basically. And there are something like 10 districts. So it's you know, all of France, Germany, Spain, Italy, and there are a lot of different languages spoken in these countries. And one Toastmasters needs to publicize anyway the fact that there are meetings in Toastmasters which take place in other languages other than English. And there's a terrific opportunity for people to learn English at Toastmasters clubs. Both of those things are there. So the region has decided, under the leadership of the person who's called a regional advisor, to hold a week-long series of meetings online, which are specially designed to attract new members. Now, it's a region-wide initiative. There will be meetings in many languages. There'll be, I think, 2 meetings a day for a whole week, and people can come to them from anywhere at all. It's not primarily designed for existing Toastmasters. It's designed for people who have never joined Toastmasters, perhaps for people who were in Toastmasters 15, 20 years ago, but definitely more aimed at younger people, young professionals, people who are at work, in jobs, who will be looking for the variety of skills that you can acquire through going to Toastmasters meetings. But this is a regional initiative, a kind of an experiment, you would say, a whole week long of series of meetings. And the hope is that more local Toastmasters clubs will be able to learn from the experience we have of holding this regional series of meetings. A lot of people, I'm going to paraphrase for you now from some of the publicity. In the current situation with COVID-19, a lot of people are forced to stay at home. This is an opportunity to promote Toastmasters to non-Toastmasters. There's going to be online demonstration meetings for the people who are at home. And it's going to raise awareness of what Toastmasters is, awareness of the Toastmasters brand. And the result will be that people who don't know it will realize, hey, it's easy to join Toastmasters. They can join clubs all over the world if they want to. They can join a physical club just down the road from where they live. There are community clubs that's what we call them, community clubs, that are now online and are all hoping someday to go back to face-to-face meetings. There are also online clubs that have never met face-to-face. And this, the goal is overall not only to create awareness about Toastmasters and what it is, but to inspire and motivate people to go and visit a club. I see in front of me now the regions that Toastmasters has. So those of you who are watching on YouTube will be able to see that. Every one of the districts that are within Region 10 will choose a particular language in which to conduct their meeting. The primary focus is on, well, I quote you here, non-Toastmasters, number 1, young professionals, managers, supervisors, people who have responsibility for getting results through other people. And there's a very good reason for this, is that Toastmasters began as a place where you could learn to speak, but it gradually morphed over many, many years to the realization that people can have an ability to learn to be better leaders, and better leaders are better at communicating. So the idea of tying together communication and leadership is now integral to Toastmasters. In fact, the strapline of Toastmasters International is where leaders are made. So this particular initiative is aimed at leaders and people who will be taking on or are already in leadership roles, because the Toastmasters experience is a self-development experience. When you join a Toastmasters club, you learn at your own pace, you learn with the support of other people, you learn within with an education program that is incredibly rich, You have a mentor. You get all this for €2 a week. I mean, it's kind of, it's a kind of joke because it's less than a cup of coffee, you know, €2 a week. And that's what this initiative is about. Now, the initiative starts off on the week of the 19th of May. The 19th of May. There is a Facebook page which you can look up. And if you look up Region 10 Facebook page, you'll find it there. I've been asked to help with the planning of the one for District 71. It's a small bit role, but I'm doing my best to help. And we're for example, we're working out what is the call to action, the precise call to action. What would a Toastmasters club want to put out as a call to action if it was aiming to recruit people who aren't members of Toastmasters at all? What would be the one message that we'd want to get people to take away? What do you think it is? What would you say should be the one message? And the message can't be more than, say, about 4 words. I'm going to stop talking now because I'm here on this podcast with 2 people who know Toastmasters much better than me. I supply the mad enthusiasm, but they supply the intelligence. So let me just slip across to Ted Melanphy. Ted, if you had to come up with a call to action of no more than 4 words, what would you say to people, let's say, who saw a club initiative aimed at people who aren't Toastmasters? What would you want the people who saw it online to do?
Very good question, Paul. I might take more than 4 words, but Toastmasters is the best education you will ever get.
Sorry,
And
Ted.
for
Sorry.
no money.
Sorry, Ted. That's a speech and a very good one in favor of Toastmasters. But let me give you an example of what I mean. Would it be, send an email, we'll send you an application form. Would it be, phone this number? What action? You know, just imagine we were the show today and we had to give just one short, what I want you to do, Moira, is, what would be the rest of the sentence? There's no right answer to this, by the way. I just have to think up an answer by tomorrow morning at 8:30. Moira, would you like to say what?
No, I'm as baffled as Ted is as to what else one could say. I've been listening to everything you've said, and I can follow everything, and I understand it, and I don't know the answer. It's something we're going to have to consider over the next few months, and very seriously, because we will be losing clubs, we will be losing members.
Well, what I would like to say, Paul, before we go, that baffled or otherwise, contact us on the Talk Show for Talkers.
And give us your idea.
We will put you in contact with the people you need to speak to.
Yeah. Anyway, let's bring this segment to a close on that little note, and invite you to come back tomorrow, as always. And this time it'll be my turn, and I'm going to be talking about how to boost your online charisma. We'll see you then. Way over time on that, folks. So I'll be cutting dramatically. How do I stop this silly thing happening? Where is my you saw my screen, folks.
I think it might be a good idea.
Get rid of that.
To cut out the question I put to.
Yeah, I probably will. Yeah, because there was a lot of nothing really. But anyway, not for the moment. It'll be for later when I get my editing hat.
Imagine a club, Ted, had a website and it wanted to recruit members. What would it put on the website Would it put on the website, click here for an application form? Or would it put, click here for an invitation to our next meeting? Which one of those would it put if it wanted members quickly? Which one? If you could only have
click
one.
Here, yeah.
Yeah.
Click here is a lovely one to start with.
Yeah, I agree.
Click here and the address is underneath it.
But click here for an invitation to join our next meeting as a guest is far more attractive than click here for a membership form.
Yeah.
Because
click here to join our meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
But tell me, at the end of the meeting, what would be the call to action? Would it be put in the chat that you want an application form and we'll send you one? Or would it be come to our next meeting?
Yeah, I think come to our next meeting, invite people and bring a friend with you.
But what happens if the club is in a crisis and needs new members quickly to survive? Coming to the next meeting.
The more reason they should come to the meeting. Come help save our club.
Oh no, that smacks of desperation.
Does it?
Yeah, save our club. Nah.
Well, I think that's.
Would you want to join a club that's failing?
Well, we didn't say it was failing.
No, but to save our club, Ted, it means
just because someone is drowning doesn't mean they're failing. It means they're drowning. They need someone to help them.
Yeah, but that way you're not necessarily attracting the right sort of person. The right sort of person we want to attract is the person who wants to improve their public speaking, not one who wants to come and save a failing club.
I disagree, Moira. I disagree.
You know, what we need is not a debate. What we need are suggestions for alternative calls to action. Yes. I'm very serious about this. There has to be a call to action by District 71 on the
19th
and before. And the real question is, what should it be? And the other thing is, we're doing this to give an example to clubs. So whatever call to action we use is actually the one we recommend that clubs use.
Yes.
You know, it could be click here and we'll send you the details of your local club.
Okay, that makes sense, yes.
And I've been inviting people to meetings, not just Toastmaster meetings, but business networking meetings on Zoom, and I'm putting it up as a wonderful opportunity to learn how to use Zoom.
Yes. Now, the key thing, though, that this whole thing I've been talking about is get more members.
Members, yeah.
It's like we can have terrific advertisements for come to a meeting, learn how to use Zoom. We'll show you how, we'll show you the technology, we'll give you advice. But what are we?
Paul, sorry, no, I missed some of your 10-minute segment because whilst I was going out to make a cup of tea, I knocked the picture off the wall. And I had to go out and get a hammer. So that's what kept me. So, but I would have thought that we have a huge opportunity at the moment because so many people are looking for things to do and they're looking for ways to self-improve and they're looking for any advice on self-development. And what better way for all of that than to join Toastmasters? And know that the Toastmaster Club is in your own sitting room, living room, backyard, garden, up in your treehouse, wherever you are, you're bringing Toastmasters into your own environment. So that in itself helps to break the ice insofar as if you have a fear of public speaking. At least you're speaking from an area that you're comfortable in, whatever about width, but you're certainly comfortable in it. Is there a concern about losing members at this particular time?
Oh God, yeah.
Because I think it should be the opposite. I think we should be gaining members.
Well, we're not. I mean, Blarney hasn't gained any members during the crisis. Neither.
We have.
Who?
We've gained 2 members.
Not during the crisis, and they came to
Well, they came
bricks
just
and
at the
mortar.
start of the crisis, not because of the crisis, but certainly during the crisis.
No. What
They came to a bricks and mortar meeting. That's the key thing.
But
Yeah.
you see, the thing about this is that bricks and mortar might never go back to bricks and mortar. A lot of the clubs will decide to stay as a hybrid club, or even as a Zoom club.
But Ted, you asked the question, and it's a very important question, is, are we losing members?
Yes.
There are parts of the world where the renewals have dropped considerably. There is also, I don't have any information about what's happened in District 71. It's probably much more healthy than other parts of the world.
Okay.
But the key thing is that we now, the only recruitment opportunities we're going to have over for the foreseeable future will be online.
Which
And
is a great opportunity.
Online, you have to have a call to action.
Yeah, I agree. No, Paul, I'll ask you a question. Are we losing the members because they're losing interest in Toastmasters, or are we losing them because of coronavirus?
Well, you know, I don't know the answer to that, but
well, I thought that's what you were referring to, because if we're losing members before the pandemic, it means that regions aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're not serving their members.
No, but Ted, remember that the pandemic really only went global in early March.
Well, in this part of the world, anyhow.
It went global in early March.
Yeah, but it was in China in December. That's why it is called COVID-19.
Ted, that's not what I'm saying. I said it went global, which is when most areas, regions, districts will have started their renewals process. Now, as the renewals were supposed to be done by the 31st of March, I know some people were saying towards later in March, did my membership go through? If it hasn't been put through, don't put it through yet. That I had from a couple of my club members. I have some club members who have not bothered to renew. Why would they? Because that club is no longer meeting because it's decided not to meet online.
Well, that's the fault. That's the fault of the officers of the club.
No, it's what the club decided to do.
But look, guys,
it wasn't. The club didn't decide to do it, Moira, because I'm a member of the same club and I was never asked for my opinion.
No, the committee decided.
Guys, we're live on YouTube. We're live on YouTube,
right?
I know,
but
this is a good conversation.
A good conversation, exactly. I think it's worthy of one that can be spread far and wide.
Yeah, but Moira, that decision was made. I don't even believe it was made at committee level.
It was, Ted.
You're a member of the committee. You were at that meeting.
Yeah.
Guys, these are the internal affairs of the organisation.
You know what club she's talking about.
Well, look.
You're the man who posed the question. How can we get new members? We're talking about why we're losing members and how to address that. And that's all part of the same question.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that the reason that we are losing members is because there are members who do not wish to go online and join a meeting online. Certainly in the club that Ted, you and I are talking about, there is a majority of members who have decided they don't want to come to an online club. They've been given every opportunity to join an online meeting, and nobody has come with 4 or 5 or 6 invitations to meetings. So if they don't want to come to the meeting, you can't force them to.
No, you can't. I know that.
And
but I think the wrong strategies are probably being used there.
Well, Ted, we could talk about that off air, but on the WhatsApp chat for the club, they have been given a number of invitations to meetings, and only one member has turned up to any meeting, and that was that international one that Paul was involved with.
Okay.
Guys, there are clubs all over the world, and this is a big thing in certain parts of the world, and there are, I guarantee you, because I've seen statistics on this, that membership renewals are going to be down globally in this coming period. that means that income to Toastmasters International is going to go down, and some services which are being provided are going, like, for example, we're not going to get the Toastmaster magazine printed for the foreseeable future. Certainly until next January, that's been announced. And nobody should assume that it will come back as a printed publication. And there will be people very disappointed in that, like me.
Yeah.
Well,
And
there's one of the reasons that we lose members, Paul. And I think you've hit the nail on the head inadvertently.
but
Is
look,
there not an opportunity for Toastmasters as an organization to say what a lot of other organizations are saying? Because of this pandemic, we're going to give you X percentage of your membership back.
well, the problem,
Let's put it out there for free.
no, that just means the organization going to lose more money. Look, there's a big debate going on about this. There are parts of the world where people have very strong views. There are two camps. One camp says that the membership fees should be reduced.
Absolutely.
Another camp says they shouldn't. And I promise you that there are strong arguments on both sides, right? And at the international, at the board of Toastmasters, at the policy level, up there, which I only just recently discovered, you can get the minutes of them.
Yes.
I've been reading the minutes of the international board, and there are items which are not disclosed there, are private, but there are other ones which aren't. But this issue is of massive concern, and it's of the biggest area in which it's of huge concern are parts of the world, take Africa, where the exchange rate against the dollar is dreadful. And the cost of being a Toastmaster in Nigeria, Burundi, in all sorts of places is much more than it is to me or to you. And in fact, you know, there is an argument that some people would argue that the cost of being a member of Toastmasters in, I'll just take Africa, should be about a quarter of the cost of being a member of Toastmasters in Ireland. And there's another argument.
I would agree with that strategy, Paul.
Well, the other
I
argument,
think we should be educating the masses, and we should be educating them for free.
well, there's the argument that Irish members of Toastmasters that our fees should double in order to make it possible to give free membership to people in a certain number of countries. And it would be a kind of what we used to call foreign aid.
Okay.
And or that, for example,
But Paul, can I ask you, Paul, do you know what the expenses of the organization is? And if it is as much as it is there not something that can be done about it from that point of view?
oh, they can
Why
lay
does
off.
it cost so much to
Yeah.
run an organization that is a voluntary organization?
They can lay off 3/4 of the staff in Colorado. That can be done.
Why, how many staff have we got?
I don't know, but it would be a big cost saving, wouldn't it?
It wouldn't actually, because there might only be 4 people in the staff there.
Oh my God, Ted, there are 10 or 20 times that number in Colorado.
And does our organization need that many people?
Well, I'm not competent to judge that. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not either. I'm just asking the question.
well, if the organization is employing more people than are needed to service the membership excellently, then clearly they shouldn't be employed.
Yeah.
If there are people coming into work and doing nothing valuable, they shouldn't be employed. But we have a bigger problem, which is the total finances, because the organization has grown so big. Now, we could shrink the organization down, I imagine. We could have the staff in Colorado, sell off the building or whatever, make everybody work from home, abolish all, travel expenses whatsoever, everywhere. And we could almost rebuild the organization from scratch.
Yeah, when you say everywhere, Paul, I think this is a lovely topic. We could go on forever, and we're not obviously going to do that. But
Well,
as
it's
you
almost
say, we could abolish expenses everywhere. I know that there's an audited expense, whatever it is. We get copies of it every year. Do we pay any particular notice to it? What the point I'm trying to make is that when this organization was set up in 1924, it was set up by Ralph C. Smedley. It was an altruistic organization to help young men to improve their opportunities of getting jobs. So he was giving them the tool of how to speak with confidence and with competence. That is really the pillar that Toastmasters is still all about. So why should we have such an expense on us when this is a non-profit making organization? In other words, we're a charity. We're not very charitable to some parts of the world when it's prohibitive for them to join Toastmasters because it's too expensive. Even if it is only €2 a week, €2 a week in some parts of the world, as you quite rightly said, is a lot of bloody money. And when people find themselves, particularly in this situation of a pandemic, €2 could be feeding a family for a week. So why are we so caught up with the expense? Why are we so caught up with having to pay people so much money?
Well, just to stick with expenses, which I have personal experience of, I went to training to be trained to be an area director in Dublin. And I drove to Dublin. And because I drove more than 20 miles or kilometers, I was able to put in an expenses claim for the cost of my petrol driving up and back. Well, that is an expenses claim that, and I could have, I didn't actually put in the claim, but that's neither here nor there. But that's the kind of expenses that Toastmasters has all over the place. If you qualified in the past to speak at the World Championship of Public Speaking, your airfare was paid to fly over and compete. And it was paid out of Toastmasters expenses. And a portion of your, annual subscription went to paying so that somebody who won could actually go and compete.
And rightly so. But let me make this point, Paul. We find ourselves in a unique situation. We are not meeting at the moment humanly. We're not meeting inside in clubs. All our competitions this year will be on Zoom or some other platform. So there is no expense to the organization. Yet we're still paying the same amount of money that we pay every year. So where's that money going?
Well, the first thing to remember, and this is hard to remember, is that apart from the money that's being saved in costs, the income is down. So if we, income is down, so, there's a financial director who will be saying, we can't possibly hold conferences, cancel all. Anyway, we had no option about that. But the problem that today we were starting with, and I still think it's going to be a big problem all year next year, is how do we get people who've never joined Toastmasters before to join? And
offer it to them free.
That's of no benefit.
Why?
Because we get no money from them.
But this is the point I'm making. If we're not meeting and if we're not causing ourselves the expense that you referred to, why should we be asking people for money?
Because if somebody wants to join Toastmasters, look at the benefits they get. They get Zoom meetings and access to Zoom meetings all over the world about topics that they're terribly interested in. Number two, They get access to pathways.
What does it cost us to put people on a Zoom meeting? The only thing it costs is the electricity that they use themselves.
But Ted, look, you're a businessman. You know that the business has to have cash flowing through it. Otherwise, it won't live. You know, we could get rid of every layer.
Paul, you're looking for ideas how to get Toastmasters or how to get people to join Toastmasters. I would think that if you offered Toastmasters for 12 months to a group of people and they can have it free for 12 months, particularly since we find ourselves in this situation, it's not going to cost Toastmasters anything because we'll be doing it on one of these platforms. I think that's an opportunity to grow the membership. Are you talking about growing the membership or making a bigger profit? We're a non-profit organization where we actually trade as a charity. Where's the charity?
Let's suppose, you know, that Blarney Club attracts an accountant from Cork to join the club. And it offers the accountant from Cork free membership for a year. And you're sitting beside on Zoom or at the face-to-face meeting, whatever it is, with somebody who's paying no money at all. And you're having to pay your €2 a week. How are most people going to react to that?
Well, I'll tell you how they're going to react to it. You asked, this all kicked off with you asking the question, how are we going to join? How are we going to increase the membership? My offer is that we should give free Toastmasters to those people who want it and who need it free. I'm not saying we should give it to the likes of Blarney Toastmasters who can well afford, or maybe some of them can't afford, but we can afford €2 a week. I'm talking about the areas of the world where €2, and you mentioned it yourself, is significantly more than €2 to your eye.
Well, look, I'm not, you know, I think we could have a really interesting discussion around the question about should people in certain countries be financially supported so that they can afford to join Toastmasters.
I'm not financially supporting anybody. What I'm doing is that I would like to invite people in who cannot afford to pay for Toastmasters and what it offers. We are a charity. We trade on that status. We have tax-free.
Yeah.
Because of it, we shouldn't be concerned as Toastmasters about how the organization at that level makes money. We're concerned about educating people to become better communicators, particularly in the situation that we find ourselves in now. The people that we educate today will be the people who will be paying for Toastmasters tomorrow and creating the opportunity for other people who come after them.
Well, it would be really interesting, and I'd love to do this with you, to draw up some rules about who would be entitled to free membership next year, because that would be a very interesting working party to decide, you know, who should be offered free membership.
I wouldn't even put it that way, Paul. As a business person, you're a business person as well. I'm sure you have done very altruistic acts in your time as a business person. You do not give because it's free. You give because you want to give. You don't give because it's free. You do not let them feel that they're going to be getting something from you because of your magnanimity. You're giving it because you know what the benefits of Toastmasters are to you. And I think people who cannot afford it would love that opportunity. And those are the people who we are giving them the opportunity to rise to the very top and end up someday as our international presidents. It doesn't have to be a person with loads of money that gets there.
No, and at present, everybody who joins Toastmasters pays the same amount of money. Now, in theory, I mean, it would be a huge effort to get that system changed, but no doubt there are people who are lobbying in favor of a change to that, to change the the costs of becoming a member.
Yeah.
And that'll carry on. And, you know, I think it's a very good thing that Toastmasters are talking about, you know, what about the plight of people whose income has been wiped out? All I can say today really is that long may the talking continue, and we need to have lots of communication around this issue.
Yeah.
And
it's a lovely topic, Paul. And it's what's very interesting about this is that the Talk Show for Talkers decided to go live today on YouTube. And you and I have had robust conversations before, and this is one of those conversations, I feel.
And you know, this conversation.
Sorry.
If you go on the Facebook page, the
official Toastmasters WhatsApp or whatever
group, you'll find this issue, huge number of contributions on it around this very same theme. So what we've done here today, I think, is partly, you know, discuss ideas around the same topic as people are talking about in an awful lot of places. And I think that's very good. And I hope that somebody's interested in what two guys in particular from Cork in Ireland are thinking about it.
I hope so. And two of us are coming at it from different angles as well, because when I hear about the membership of Toastmasters dropping, usually what I hear after that is that it's become too corporate. So are we an organization for corporations, or are we an organization for public clubs?
Now you're bringing up another topic.
Yes, but the argument you seem, the way I'm taking your argument when you're emphasizing it from a monetary point of view, it seems to be you're arguing from a corporate point of view rather than from the community side.
Well, I'm sorry I've given you that impression.
No, you don't have to apologize at all. That's the way I get it. Maybe I'm getting it completely wrong.
That wasn't in my mind. And
okay.
In my own sense, I'm the whole thing about, I'm not interested. I don't feel myself that there is, you know, a problematic difference between community clubs and corporate clubs. They are different. Toastmasters has huge potential, I believe, for expanding in corporate clubs. There are huge numbers of companies out there, even in Cork, that don't have corporate clubs, where people are trying to get better at supervising other people, communicating more effectively, all of that. So more or less any organization that employs, let's say, I don't know, 200 people could easily have a Toastmasters club within that organization. And the good thing is that Toastmasters has a lot of corporate clubs, has a lot of experience. And in some of the clubs, it's company policy and nobody pays a personal subscription. In other companies, people are given time off work in order to go to meetings. And in other companies, they're just allowed to go. So there's huge variations in corporate clubs. There are some corporate clubs that won't let anybody else go to their meetings except employees of that company. And there are other companies that will invite other Toastmasters to come into their meetings, like McAfee and Cork. Completely open to any other Toastmasters, very welcoming. You take Apple weren't, it was virtually impossible, I think, maybe actually impossible for anyone who wasn't an employee of Apple. Not surprising, that's the kind of company Apple is. Absolutely, you know, strong on their own security and everything. They wouldn't dream of letting anybody else in. I'm not surprised. So there is huge variety, you know, among these things. So the great thing about Toastmasters I found, Ted, and I can see you have found it great, is that there's no shortage of big issues for the organization and its members to discuss. No shortage at all.
Yeah, thanks for that, Paul. Well done. I enjoyed that conversation.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Well done.
Can we ask Moira O'Brien to come in? And the poor woman has shown immaculate patience.
I've been working in the background. I've just composed an email to my club members to encourage them to come back to the fold. So, yeah, we did have a comment from an online viewer, Jane Boyd. She says she's not a member of Toastmasters, but it's interesting to hear this discussion. I will say that there are still expenses for all organizations during COVID. And she also made an early comment, which I think I've now lost sight of. Yeah, I can't see it. So sorry, Jane, if I missed that.
Jane Boyd lives just south of Vancouver. She and I have been friends for, I don't know, 10 years, let's say, not quite 10.
Right.
And yes, that's there's a long story. And I went to Chicago to a small conference where we met face to face in 2014, I think. And she's an absolutely incredibly good person.
Yeah, that's great
She
that she
also
contacted the show. I enjoyed it.
She also said everything has changed. Toastmasters will have to evolve in order to survive. Members will be lost, but new members will also be gained. I don't think Toastmasters will die as a result of this, because it's proved over the last 2, 3, 4 weeks that a large majority, I would say, of Toastmasters members are more than happy to go to online meetings. But not only that, we've had a huge influx of overseas visitors to our clubs, to our contests, and to meetings generally. So people are going to join club meetings where they would never have dreamt of doing in the past, because it would have been available to them.
And the Cork Tourist Board is really delighted, because the possibility of people coming to Cork as a result of coming to Toastmasters meetings which are hosted in Cork is going to help the long-term recovery. This is Paul making us.
No, Paul, it's not. Sometimes the truest words are said in jest.
Yeah.
We had a lady at a Toastmasters meeting the other night from Australia, and she said she's going to make it her business to come to Ireland, and she wants to kiss the Blarney Stone.
Yeah.
And I said, you'll be more than welcome to come to our meeting, and we'll want to hook up with you. And she said, as soon as I get an opportunity, I'll be coming. And we said, contact Blarney Toastmasters. So you're so right. This is what's going to happen.
Well, Blarney Toastmasters hasn't yet, galvanized its resources to gain from the existence of the Blarney Stone. That is our greatest attraction. To join the club, which is under the shadow, literally that close to the Blarney Stone, where you get the gift of the gab. The Blarney Stone, that's a load of Blarney. It's in the dictionary.
It is. And I thought they were coming to the club because they heard Paul O'Mahony was the chairman there.
No. It's only because I built the stone.
Right.
Better let Moira O'Brien at the stage.
Well done, Paul. That's why we love you.
Sure, look.
Well done, well done.
Off picture.
I think we work well together.
Yeah, it's fabulous, fabulous. Yeah, that's the thing about Toastmasters, that you can say what you feel in your heart and your head, and you can come away after and have a point with the people you said it was, even though you might be the only one saying the kind of thing that you're saying, and that's the beauty of dialogue.
Okay, before we close this conversation, I just want to pass on what Jane has said here online. As an introvert, I would be more inclined to go to an online meeting than face-to-face. And she says, I am more attracted to become a member of an Irish club than one locally. Well, Jane, the answer to that is come and join Blarney Toastmasters, because you will not regret it. It will be the best thing that you have done. It'll give you the opportunity to improve your speaking, improve your confidence. Certainly, you would be far more likely to be able to go to an on-site meeting after a few months in an online club. So, yeah, we'd love to have you.
No,
But,
Moira,
yes.
I'll give you Jane's email address afterwards, and you email her an application form.
What a good idea.
I hope Jane has heard that now, Paul. She'll have to agree to that first.
Jane doesn't waste her
Still
words.
online.
Okay.
Introverts are much more careful about the words they say, and Jane means exactly what she's saying.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt. Yeah.
To join.
Okay, let's press on, folks, because
Thanks, Jane. We look forward to meeting
shortly.
you on Blarney Toastmasters.
Right, now, where I've totally lost where we are. I've got 70 things on my screen now which have nothing to do with the subject we're talking
And I was
about.
supposed to be leaving at 20 to, but I think I have a small window, but I'll have to crack on soon. I have another meeting at 5 o'clock.
Start without me. I'm going to get a glass of water. Start without me.
Okay.
But then you won't be listening to my words of pearls of wisdom. Now, let's see if I can find where we are. Oh, it's on another page. That's fine. Okay.
Well, you'll certainly be doing what you're going to be speaking about now anyway.
Well, yeah, to a degree. Yeah, I agree. I'm cleaning up my screen so I can see what the heck's happening.
Moira, would you mind if I explained to people about the books behind you?
Oh, by all means. I will actually. I'll move out.
Let you move out and let you explain it. It's your book collection.
Well, it's not. I mean, I take no responsibility for it. They're not my books. But what you have to do when I actually cover up my video is you have to read the titles of the books. So
from left to right, is it?
Yeah, up. Now, Ted, you've got to shut up because I want to keep me on screen. Now, why is it not showing me the background? What's happened there? That didn't work. Okay, I just have to move off screen. That's all right.
Did we record the outro to the last section?
We did,
yeah. Now, silence, please, folks, because I want people to be able to read the titles of the books from left to right.
Move your chair, will you?
Ted, shh. Oh, my chair. No. Yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. So read the titles of the books from left to right. It was some clever person who put this together, which I think is really, I don't know if these are real books. They're all real books. Some of them definitely are. But just to read it, the English patient had caught it on the beach. I should have stayed home, she said. Now she was in quarantine in the dark house of splendid isolation. Still, hope springs eternal. With a little bit of luck, common sense, and personal hygiene. I can't read it. The Corona Book of Horror Stories must end soon. Always remember, clean hands save lives. And when in doubt, don't go. And we can't see that last bit because something's in the way. Don't go out. I think that's absolutely brilliant. Whoever put that together should be congratulated. And now, before we carry on, I'm going to go and make a cup of tea. You can carry on talking in my absence.
Ted, I didn't expect that, did you?
No, because I said I'll be gone in 10 minutes, so I'll be gone when Mara comes back once the kettle is boiled.
Well, I tell you what, look, I've had plenty of practice. I can do your
Once
voice.
the tea is back, the virtual cup.
I can do your voice, Ted. So at the end, I'll say, thanks for listening in two voices, my own and yours, okay?
We might just get it in. I thought she was going to go. I thought Mara had to go to the well to get the water and get 2 sticks to light the sticks under the stove and all that kind of stuff.
Hey, Ted, are you ready to introduce Moira's section?
I am. I'm ready to introduce Moira.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome to this segment, the final segment of this week's offering of the talk show for talkers on irishtalkers.com. And Moira has been doing, as she is going to say, how to improve your charisma when online.
Well, that's the theory, Ted, and I shall try to demonstrate audibly, because unless you're watching this stream on YouTube as we record it, you won't actually see me doing it. But who knows, we might do this as a matter of course in the future. That would be fun, wouldn't it? We are all having to go to meetings online, and this has made some people very nervous. Other people are saying, well, okay, I want to make the best of this, but how can I make life better for me when I'm doing my speech or doing my table topic or conducting a role when online? But what I'm going to talk about today is more for when you're giving a speech or a table topic, and that is what changes do you have to make from the way you would be presenting your speech in an on-site situation to presenting it online. And there are a few key things to think about. The first thing is this. People are going to see you in your face far more clearly than they would in an on-site situation. Because in Speaker View on Zoom, you're there full screen potentially, and that could be considerably larger or considerably effectively closer than the audience would see you in an on-site situation. And what's going to happen with this? Well, every expression, everything that you do, everything that you say, all your gestures, your facial expressions are going to be so magnified in the effect that they're going to have on the audience. Just think about that for a second. You're not used to people seeing you in very good light, very close up, very personal. You're used to people seeing you from 8, 10, 12, 15 foot, or even in a big hall, 30, 40, 50 foot distance. But now they can see every blemish on your face, every hair that's out of place. So there's a couple of things to think about in this. First of all, whilst Ted smooths down his hair, there's a few things to think about. Your presentation, your background. That becomes very, very important. Now, I'm going to switch off my virtual background, which is showing bookcases at the moment. And you're going to see behind me is a green screen. If I was to take that green screen down, you would see a really messy room with my cat wandering around, with my dog wandering in and out, and all sorts of distractions. Not good. So I have a green screen. And the result of that green screen is that I can display behind me whatever I wish to in terms of an image. Now, I'm going to put an image behind me now, which is just a plain sort of colored background. And that's quite good for giving a speech where you don't want to distract the audience from what you're saying. You want them to concentrate on you. But you could equally use the background to illustrate the speech that you're giving. For example, I gave a speech a couple of weeks ago entitled Beam Me Up, Scotty, which was about, what was it about? I've lost my train of thought there for a second. It was about communication. So I used Beam Me Up, Scotty as a background, which I'm putting up now. And I used a Star Trek Enterprise video picture as my general backdrop. And I also had 3 or 4 other things to illustrate what I was talking about: a magazine, a book, a video page, all of which contributed to the speech. So it's a bit like using your background as a slideshow to support your particular speech. And that, I think, worked very well. So that's something you can do. You could also introduce sound effects. Now, it's much easier to do that when you're on your computer, an on-site meeting, and I had to have somebody in the audience with a phone who was ready to press the button and play the sound effect at the right time, which sometimes worked, sometimes didn't work. So let's come down to the key thing, which is your facial expressions. Now, before I go on, I should give credit to Florian Murk, from whom I got most of the ideas for giving this particular segment. Florian is a German living in Barcelona. He's been a professional speaker and trainer for the last 11 years, I think. Sorry, 9 years. He started in 2011. And he's been doing a lot of work on YouTube, giving free tutorials on all aspects of public speaking. I've put a link to his YouTube channel in our website, so do go and visit him. And he's currently been doing a series, I think there were 7 videos on this subject of how to be charismatic, how to improve your charisma when you're online. So thank you, Florian, for giving me the ideas for this. Now, he quotes Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey said his best friend is the mirror. Let that sink in. You've seen, I'm sure, you're a bit unusual if you hadn't seen at least one Jim Carrey movie, and his facial expressions are really quite extraordinary, if not excessive. And the way he developed them apparently was by looking in the mirror every day, looking in the mirror and making these extraordinary gestures with his mouth. I wish you could see me online, because I think you get the idea much more clearly if you could see the facial expressions I'm making. But I'm looking at myself now online, and it certainly is extraordinary how much more impact you get when you can see somebody close up and their face is giving you all those expressions. So treat your face as being the most important thing when you're delivering that speech. Even if you're doing it standing up and you're standing back from the camera, people are still going to see you clearly because they can expand their screen. They can almost blow their screen up to whatever size they want to. So the face is the first thing. Second thing, of course, is your body language. Because unless you are very lucky and you have a really big room, it's very difficult to be able to display all of your body on screen. If you can, then I guess you can carry on as you would have done in your on-site club, except the very important thing that your audience is that camera in front of you. And therefore you have to pay much more attention to that camera in front of you, because that is looking at you, the audience. You can look to your right and you can look to your left as you would in an on-site situation, but you still have to make that camera your number one point of eye contact, because people will see when you are not looking at the camera. So let's go back to body language. Make more use of your gestures. Make your gestures bigger, because people may not be able to see enough of your body to be able to get the full impact of the gestures you're making. The way I'm recording this is you can only see the top of my chest upwards, which is not a lot. So when I'm doing hand gestures, I'm really having to go high and in the air. Otherwise, those hand gestures just would not be seen. We talked about your background. We talked about body language. We talked about facial expressions. We've talked about slides. What about things that might happen in the room? Now, if you're giving your speech, you're no doubt doing it in your home, and maybe your partner, your wife or your husband or your dog or your cat might well come into the room where you are giving your speech, even though they've been asked not to. They've come in to your room and caused a distraction. What are you going to do? Are you going to freeze? Are you going to ignore it? Or are you going to say, here's an opportunity for getting an impromptu reference to what's happened? So, for example, say, that was my wife, folks. She only comes in when she's told not to. Something like that, you know. What happens if somebody comes on screen when you're giving your presentation? In contests, everybody's supposed to have their video closed, but sometimes people, by mistake, their video goes on, and even more likely, they put their audio on. And if you're on speaker view, then suddenly somebody else pops up on the screen when you're giving your speech. This can be really annoying and can throw you. But again, own the moment and have that smart remark to make at the right time. Ted, thanks for interrupting my speech. You've given me the opportunity to rethink what I was saying. Or some stupid comment like that. You know what I mean? Can you see the point? You're taking the opportunity of incorporating that distraction into your speech. Okay, well, I have waffled on for long enough, I think. So I'm going to invite Ted and Paul to come back in and give me their pearls of wisdom, maybe to add to what I've been telling you.
Well, I think that was a wonderful demonstration, Moira, of how to raise your charisma. The one thing I did find that you could have pointed out was that those pictures that you're showing behind you, how did you get those on the screen as quickly as you did?
Because I have my settings page open on Zoom and my virtual background setting. And
so where do we find virtual background?
Do you have any images on your computer, Ted?
Well, I have. I'm just asking on behalf of the members.
Yeah, I'm just asking the question. You have images on your computer.
I have.
Any image you have on your computer,
right,
or that you can download from the internet, you can add into your library of virtual backgrounds.
Okay, well, there's my one there now, but it doesn't come up very well for the simple reason that I don't have a green screen.
You don't have a green screen. You can purchase a green screen, a pop-up green screen from Amazon for about, I don't know, 20, 30 euro. You can buy, what I have is a cloth screen, which I've suspended from lighting stands, which is much more effective because it's much wider and much bigger. Or you can, if you are fortunate enough that your computer, you can put your computer in front of you with behind you a plain wall of one color. Then you can tell the background to choose that color as the background, as the virtual background's color. Now, it's not perfect, but it can work. Now, I did start off today on Zoom, not using my green screen. And what tended to happen was my headphones, which are black, tended to disappear. My hair tended to disappear. So that can be distracting. So I certainly would not recommend it to anybody who's giving a speech not to use a green screen if they want to use a virtual background. So use the green screen or don't have a virtual background. That's my recommendation.
Excellent. The reason I asked that particular question, Mara, that I just wanted our listeners, our viewers, to see exactly how to get the virtual background.
Sure.
So the virtual background, you have a little icon on the bottom left of your screen's viewers. It's a video camera. And next to that, there's a little up arrow. When you click on that, you're given the option of picking something from your virtual library. And that's where you get those pictures that Mara so very efficiently put up behind her there.
Okay, well, on that interesting note, we'll have to bring this show to a close. Thank you all for listening, if you have. Come back again next week for more, I was going to say intellectual chatter, but let's just say chatter on the subject of public speaking, confidence, Toastmasters, etc., etc. We'd love to have you back. So
see you next week. Bye.
From all of us here, bye for now. Bye.
Bye.
Well done, lads. And I literally have to run out the door now because I'm going to a meeting. I'm going to a meeting, Paul and Mara, with Walt Hampton.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to a meeting with him, a webinar on how to sell your online, on how to sell your online, whatever you have online.
Oh, okay.
So see you, lads.
Okay,
Paul,
cheers.
best of luck. Best of luck Saturday, Paul. Best of luck in the election. That's Saturday, isn't it?
On Saturday is an election. Saturday is the Division A
contest.
Oh, the contest, 11 o'clock.
For the International Speech Contest.
Right.
The winner will qualify to go as champion to the district contest and the evaluation contest. And I'm the contest chair, and I think it might be unfair if I mentioned who were
No, don't mention anything,
in the evaluation.
Best of luck. I got my dates mixed up. I thought it was the election for officers of the DLT.
That's coming shortly. 22nd is the showcase.
22nd.
Okay. The 22nd is the district showcase.
23rd is the election.
23rd is the election.
Okay, that's the district conference, all right.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I know
lads.
all that because I'm Zoom mastering it.
Yeah, well done.
And we will be streaming the district council meeting.
That's great news, Moira.
And we will probably, I'm not sure if we're streaming, I don't think we're streaming the district officer showcase though. But we will be streaming the council meeting and the contests.
And is there a special reason why the showcase wouldn't be streamed?
I think because the number of people who turn up normally to this event would be a couple of hundred at the most, and we have a 500 room. There is no necessity to stream it. That was the argument.
Streaming it has the great advantage that people outside Toastmasters get to see, there's huge transparency, and District 91 streamed everything.
Yeah. Well, you say they streamed everything. They didn't stream the contests. They said they were streaming them, but they didn't.
All right. They recorded them.
But they didn't stream them.
Anybody who...
I know why, because they wanted the money for people to see them, which is fair enough, because they were monetizing it.
Oh, yeah. They badly needed the money, too. I thought it was a terrific, great value, only 25 quid to get a recording of the entire conference. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Anyway, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Darren LaCroix, I thought was amazing.
You know that I'm a member of his Stage Time University, Though I have to say, I haven't done very much with them. I've downloaded everything that's downloadable, so I have a huge amount of stuff there to go through and work on, but I just haven't found the time actually to do it, which is really frustrating. They do have live telephone calls every week, but the trouble is they have them at 3 o'clock in the morning, which is just
that obviously suits me perfectly. I just simply, never sleep. I know. No, joking apart. The other thing is actually that I thought it was a terrific demonstration. The whole thing was a terrific of his speech was a terrific demonstration at the end of how to sell something.
Yeah.
Because I listen to the speech while shopping in the supermarket, and I I think seriously about signing up.
Yeah, it's good value. It's not hugely expensive and it's not cheap, but I think I pay about 200 euro or $200 a year, something like that.
I'll never, I was thinking, I'll never be a world-class, I'll never make a world-class speech unless I am coached by Darren Roy. Yeah,
exactly. And Darren has Don Brown, what's the name? Name's gone now. But he has 2 ex-world champions on his team, as well as a couple of really good experienced trainers. So and speakers. So it's good value. It's good value.
It's about time a very mature Irish speaker won the World Championship. I mean, a lot of these people who win the World Championship aren't as mature as I am. So I thought, I think it's about time that the judges will appreciate that the most mature person in the room, provided they do a good and an okay speech, deserves to be, sympathy vote, deserves to win.
Absolutely.
So I thought, I'll get Darren to coach me, and he'll tell me how long I should stay on the floor.
Yeah.
Okay, look, I'm going to leave you.
Indeed, and we'll bring the stream to a close.
Goodbye, viewers. It's been...
Thanks to everyone who's watching it live, and thanks to everybody who's watching the replay. I hope you enjoyed it, and do give us the odd comment. I know that we've had a few comments already. I see, and
I can read you one.
And we'll see you again on another stream. Hopefully, we might do this on a regular basis.
Yes, we've had a comment from Limerick.
Yeah.
Yes, this person says to me, "Only in your honor I listened. Love Ted's quote and totally agree. Taking it a bit further even, that all things in existence are created twice. First in our imagination, only after that for real, or believing is seeing." So...
I'm not quite sure why I'm not seeing all the chat. Oh, I see. I only had top chat. I didn't see live chat. Mind you, I'm not seeing those chats.
They're on. Though that's on Facebook. Look, I'm
on Facebook. Oh, I didn't look at Facebook. I'm looking at YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone. I'm going to close the stream now, if I can remember how to do it, and we'll see you again. Hopefully, we'll see you again next week, if circumstances allow. So, bye for now, everybody.